sometimes in life when you have a certain kind of thing that comes to you, for instance, something you're interested in, you often wonder, like, where does that come from? And this is really weird. So, I don't know how it happened. I think I watched a random video about the Crusades. And I know of the Crusades, but I don't know a whole lot. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know the individual little things about them. And I never really knew about the Crusades that happened with the Germans going into the Balkans and getting rid of the pagans. Because God fucking forbid people are doing their own thing, right? I didn't know about that, right? The Teutonic Order and all that. In Prussia, as well as Lithuania and all that, I didn't know that was a Baltic peoples and their own tribes and stuff were there, but these Teutonic fucks came in and Germanized it, and now, like, because I thought for the longest time Prussians, those are like a form of Germanic people. I didn't know that they weren't most of their lives, most of the, whatever you want to call it, the history of that place. And I just was so, like, flabbergasted. I feel so stupid for not knowing that. You know, I feel foolish, but, you know, whatever. You know, you can't know everything. If you've never heard it, you wouldn't know it. And so, like, I guess I was, like, taken aback by that. And so I've been doing a little bit of looking into who were the Prussians. And their mythology is so familiar, at least the tiny bit that I've gathered, and that's not much, it's like a sentence. I was like, holy fuck, there's something interesting about this. They talk about this massive oak tree that causes big shade, a very protective tree, and under it they had to keep a fire kindled. And I was like, holy fuck, that's like the mythology of my book. That's fucking insane. Right? And to someone on the outside, they'd be like, whatever, not a big deal, synchronicity. So I'm like, I don't think so, man. And so I've been kind of like looking into these people and looking into the Teutonic Order and what they did over there. And once again, I'm fucking irritated with what Christianity did. Because during that time, man, what they were doing to those people to have forced their conversion is insane. Absolutely insane what they did to those people, like forcing them to convert. Same with like fucking Charlemagne with the Franks and all that. And I'm just left dumbfounded. You'd have to look into it yourself with the history of it, but it's like same old story where a bunch of people come in and force their religion on someone else, and if they don't do it, they have you killed because you're a heretic. They have make up shit about your religion and what you're really doing. Of course, you're always doing sacrifices, right? It's always that. God fucking forbid. Like, they're always cutting heads off and worshiping it or some weird shit, right? And everyone always believes it, even though there's zero no proof to it, ever. Even the Romans couldn't prove, technically, the culture doing what they did. Human sacrifice and all that shit. It's just made up. It's the same fucking game over and over and over again. The Romans have been doing it, now the Roman Catholics, right? And I was just so irritated. I was like, God, man, you can't fucking anything. Like, and I just kept thinking about it. Why does this have interest to me? Why are the Prussians of interest to me? And then I remembered in my when I did the ancestry, there's like this small percentage. It's like 2% or something of Eastern European-ish. I don't remember the area it was, but it kind of was in that area. It's not Russian, it's something, like it's the Balkan kind of people. And I was like, well, of course, it's in your DNA. There's a part of you that's longing for it. And there's a part of me that longs to know this more. So we know about the Welsh, we know about the Irish. Now it's these Balkan people. And I'm just like, man, I'm all those things. I'm even the bad guys. I'm English and German. Fuck. But it makes sense. So, once again, I'm just kind of thinking about this. And I was pondering about the Crusades, right? That we know of in the past. And I'm like, man, these don't sound very different than the whole... what's going on now when it comes to what is offensive and what's racist. You're forcing an opinion on people. You give them ultimatums. You're forcing what you want to consider as racism, and it's the same fucking thing. It's the exact same thing now that it was then. You get people to believe it enough, you get them to wipe their own culture out. You get them to wipe their own culture out, you can put in your agenda. Because that's essentially what happened with the Christian conversions. They wiped out the culture of every single people they came in contact with. From Celtic peoples, to these Balkan peoples, to the peoples that, I don't even know. We're just going to say all of Europe. This is all I'm really concerned about. And they lost their identity to such a degree that God forbid that these individual people tried capturing their own lore, their own heritage. They had to like put in there like, but this is stupid and demonic and Christ is the only savior. They had to do that in order to preserve their own fucking heritage. I'm like, why is that okay? You know, God was only focused on the Jews for a long time, and then he's like, we'll get to the rest of them later. Let them have their own things for a minute. And then some time went by, apparently thousands of years, till Jesus came around and said, okay, now to all. And that was the whole plan. And then now everyone else can kind of fall away. And meanwhile, we have crusades where people are being fucking killed and put into slavery by these Christian Germanic people. But that's all for the good of Christ, is it not? And it just blows my fucking mind that people still fall for this shit. You know? And then I thought about this. How I view Yahweh, fucking the Jew God, how I view him is like Eik Beovak in my book, where he has manipulated a group of people into believing that he is the God, but in fact he replaced some sense of that God. Or he is some war element of that said God. I've talked about it in some videos in the past, I think. I don't really know. I'll be honest, I don't really remember all the fucking things I get on about. But it just kind of clicked for me. I'm like, there might be some shenanigans at stake on that level, or this is purely man. Because I've been watching certain videos, I'm sorry, I don't remember the names of them, but where they're talking about that Judaism wasn't invented until like the 300s or 500s BC. Somewhere in that area. Forgive me, I don't remember exactly when. That's when it was invented. That's when Moses came around. And one of the big reasons why they are finding this to be true is like one case of a place in Egypt called Elephantine or something along that. And these are Jewish, Semitic people that knew nothing of these famous Jewish stories and did none of the rituals to them. And all of a sudden out of nowhere they did around that time, and so they think this is when it was invented. I know the Jews say, no, it was oral before that, that's why. I don't know. You're going to have to like look at someone's video that like looks into this shit, because I'm not that guy. But as I was listening to it, I was like, of course, it makes complete sense. There's something fishy about it. And I've always felt that way. If you look back at the videos, you'll know that I've been like, man, I just feel something doesn't feel right about it, and I don't know what it is. And I'm used from fear, my own fear, to, they always say like, the evil in you is afraid to step into the light or some shit like that. Like I thought maybe that would be it. Maybe I'm afraid because there's something in me that doesn't want to be okay, or whatever. I've used every angle. But that didn't change the fact that something didn't feel right about it. I was so confused. I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I tried going to talk to Catholics. I mean, I've had people try to convince me to join their church. I've had all this stuff, and it just something, I'm like, I don't know what it is, man, but something isn't right. Deep down, I know. You trust that in yourself. You have to trust that in yourself. And so I was like, I don't know what to do about that. I don't know how to feel about that. And so I just ruminated for years, like just in the years. I don't know how long since I've been really looking into this. Feels like years. And then I started looking into some of its track record. You know, the Catholic Church and Protestantism and all that shit. I'm like, it's all just a bunch of bullshit. It's all man. It's all man and his bullshit. What is anything? You ever notice that everyone has an opinion about God or the old gods, and it's just, I don't know how to explain it. We're talking about human beings guessing and talking about something that they claim is greater than themselves. Yet you can know? I don't know, man. So I've really walked away from religion. I've walked away from it very heavily. Or I don't know how to word it. I just don't know how to feel about it, so I just said, fuck this, I'm done. I tried getting into it. I tried reading about, I have a book about the catechism. I've talked to deacons and priests. I've watched YouTube videos of priests and people talking about the faith and conversions and you name it, man. Miracles. I've read texts like Bede, the ecclesiastical Bede. I have these other kind of famous theologian kind of articles from St. Augustine and what's that fucking dude's name that Bishop Barron always talks about. I forget his name. God damn it. But he's like a famous, I think he's a pope or something. I looked at all these avenues because I'm like, surely I'm missing something here. I'm missing something. I had quiet moments with myself where I would sit for a long time. I don't know the time because time kind of goes away when you get to this meditative state. And speak to Jesus or speak to God. I would sincerely bare my fucking soul to this. Now, my leeriness wasn't because they didn't answer me and I'm out of here. Like, no. Something didn't feel right in it. When I talk about Eris in my book and how he mirrors me in the sense of when he is presented with, dude, this is the gods. And this is what they're saying to you. They found their prophets and this is it. And he's going like, I don't know, man. Something doesn't feel right about this. I write it that way because it mirrors myself. Where I'm like, surely, if I was brought to this world here, and I'm this sinner, this horrible thing, this just horrible little thing, and I need Jesus to cleanse me, and I need to just have trust and faith in him, I feel like that just kind of negates the whole purpose of being here. What the fuck was the point of that? To me, that sounds more like a falling in line. Like, I'm supposed to be here to learn and to experience and to figure things out for myself and to be the best person I can be and to search deeply in myself to find who I am and to make mistakes and to trust in myself and have strength in my own will so I can act in this world. And through the acting that I do, I can try to be the greatest person that I could be on any level. But sometimes I hear, people talk with their religion and someone like, just trust in Christ and he'll have you. It's the same logic as like go on this crusade and all your sins are absolved. Like, really? It's because you want it to be absolved? Now all of a sudden magically, oh, it can be because the Pope said so. Do you know what I'm saying? Like God spoke in his ear, like, yeah, just tell them, like, if they go and fucking, take the Holy Land, that means shit to me, that they won't go to hell if they made some sins. I don't know about rape and murder. I'm sure maybe he's like, I don't know about that. we're talking just normal human sins. But that still is fucking fishy. You can absolve me of my sins if I play the game? That's weird. Huh. And that's how I feel about this whole, like what's the fucking point in trying when all you have to do is just do nothing, essentially, and just trust in a higher being and just not do. I just kind of feel like it negates the human experience. Just totally negates it, not from a scientific viewpoint of understanding, of just learning and growth. What the fuck would you need to do any of that for then? What's the point of me even fucking trying now? Just get rid of all this shit and just be a nothing and follow a ghost, follow a void, follow a sound. And if you don't do that correctly, your ass ain't going into heaven. Like, well, fuck you, I guess, because I'm not going to sit and play. It's crazy, man. It's truly crazy to me. I don't know how to feel about that. That's why I'm leery. I'm like, that's just something don't seem right there. Then you start seeing the proof of, like, when certain texts were being created in the Bible, and it doesn't match the age that they say they are, and then you, like, again, you see the whole, what the popes were trying to do with paganism, or what they were trying to do with the Holy Land, because that matters, right? It's just, something isn't right. The Pope was so concerned about fucking the Balkans and all these pagans there, but didn't give a fuck about what the Muslims are doing down in Spain. That's weird. You think that'd be pretty important? I don't know. At least I would. What's more, those are the same religion that is holding captive what you consider to be your holy capital. But that's different. Just, it's strange. It really is strange to me. Some of the fucking things that I've been noticing. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy for saying these things. Whatever. I've heard worse. But like, yeah, I did it again. Trust. But just, can you blame me for feeling this way? For wondering at some of these things. It just, something doesn't quite feel right to me. And I don't want to seem like I hate the religion, or I hate people that practice religion, or I look down on, because I don't. Not at all. I don't have any hate in my heart. I have anger at what was lost, at like what my ancestors lost, their culture. I have anger about that. That's where my heart lies. And that's why my search, kind of like this pendant I always wear, it's the spiral because it reminds me of ascension, right? It's like if it was this way, it'd be coming up. And it's about ascension to a higher thing. And when I talk about gort, which is this ivy, and ivy is this kind of clinging to grow, I'm just trying to grow and ascend. Not into godhood, not into any sort of higher version, but just into my own being, trying to flower. And I just thought it was so strange that there's only one right way. And that right way is accepting a certain person and allowing him to be everything, more than your family. I'm like, I don't know, man. Something doesn't feel right about that. Something makes me wonder that maybe there's more going on than will be admitted. And I'm just some fool, right? I'm the fool. Because I don't understand this. It's simple, you just don't understand. You just heard the wrong things. And I think you want me to hear what you want to hear? And that all of a sudden makes it different because now I heard what you heard. That's different. What is different? What about it is wrong? Everything I think is wrong? That's very convenient, is it not? I just keep seeing these like recycled things happening over and over and over again. And right now in our world where we sit, it's happening. We're being forced to think certain ways, forced to fear certain things. Why is it different now? Because it's COVID. You look in the past at the very same things that happened and we're like, that was an evil time, and I'm glad, if I look back then I wouldn't deal with that. But it happened, and now all of a sudden, this is different though. This is different. Or you talk about the modern kind of understanding of how to erase a culture by using fear. How do you erase a culture? Call it racist. It's the best way to do it. People will believe it. All you gotta do is make up enough scenarios. It's very ignorant, man. And it happens all the time, and there's another move. People are collecting their checks right now. One of the main things that it all attaches to is greed. And I was listening to this guy speaking about these Baltic people, and they weren't really keen on gold, or they weren't really keen on this kind of mercantile lifestyle, right? They would do trading and stuff, and they were very good at working with minerals and stones and such, creating good architecture, if you will. And they understood that, but they didn't covet the way the Christians did, coveting their gold, coveting their iconographies. Have to be laid with gold. And it's when they came over and tried to convince those Baltic peoples, they were kind of like, I don't really need that. And the Christians were like, what? This is a gold statue. You know what I mean? Like, they couldn't fathom. And then I got thinking about the modern world. We only care if money's involved. It's funny that you steal from a fucking company, how far they're willing to go to seek justice, when that's not even a real thing. It's an entity. It's a company. It's not real. Or banks. People rob banks. You're robbing the people. No, you're robbing the bank. Bank loves that fucking money. They rub their dick on it every night. And it just starts dawning on me. I'm like, I think people are being tricked a lot more than they realize. And there's a lot going on. More than we can realize, or fathom. One thing I've learned about erasing cultures is you use their own mythology and culture against them. So when you're absolving a group of people, when you're building your religion, you put their already mythological beliefs and feelings into your new religion. So it's like, see? Same. It's the same thing. You can have it here now. Makes them feel like, oh, this is okay. They convince me that their God's stronger. Because you ever hear this about pagans? They always say, oh, they're a superstitious lot. They're a superstitious, backwards people. Always backwards, always superstitious. And that's what's used against them most of the time. And that very thing, it just clicked for me. It makes sense, the claims that I'm hearing about Judaism and Christianity being a far younger religion than we want to admit. Far younger. And maybe these people have put their stories, they stole it from an ancient people and they took them and used them. And because there's something familiar about those stories, we're like, yeah, that resonates. Something special. But in reality, It's the reason we feel that way is because it's someone else's, our original story that's been hijacked. I don't. That feels right in my heart. That doesn't feel wrong in my heart. That feels more right than anything I've ever felt. And that's why I'm like, I don't know, man. There's something about all of this shit that I can't grasp. I can't understand. I don't want to I don't try to say these things to upset people, or to hurt anyone's feelings, or to take anyone's experience from them. But I'm trying to be honest with how I feel, and I told you I'll always be honest, and I won't hide anything, and this is just one of those things that, this is how I feel. No one's going to say I'm right, and everyone will tell me I'm wrong. And that's fine, because why wouldn't I be right? It's not what you thought. Of course I'm wrong. That goes against everything. That has to be wrong. So I'm okay with that, you know? I'm not going to get into debates about it. I'm not going to sit and try to convince fucking people to believe this and get them to convert to some new religion that I'm making. No. This is just how I feel. And I feel this way, and I'm not going to do anything really about it. It's not like I'm taking this information and then I shall start a cause that will, I know, that's it. I feel that way. And I'm going to go another room now, I said it, and I'm going out, and I'm going to go fucking figure myself out. That's all that matters to me. But my journey so far has been to seek myself and where I come from and the people that brought me here. And since doing that, I've learned of everything that was lost because of it all. Where it's seemingly impossible to find a world before the Abrahamic faiths, because it's mired in superstition, air quote, backwards ritualistic practices, human sacrifice, and just plain old devilry. But I find that to be far too convincing. And the major reason I feel that way, I have a very, very hard time believing that there are groups of people that give a shit about what that guy's doing way over there in his woods. Sacred Grove? Absolutely not. Why do you give a fuck? Well, I'm saving him from himself. I thought the Romans said that. I thought the Greeks would say that. The English. We're getting rid of barbarism, civilization, technology, and all the good things in the world. That's what matters. Have that phone in your pocket. That's good for you. Although the lithium from those batteries was harvested by child slaves. No, not true. It's all the same fucking thing, man. It keeps happening over and over and over again, and we always go man, if I lived back in Nazi Germany, man, if I lived back in the Roman days, man, I would have done it. You're doing it now. It's the same fucking thing. We just have a new flag flying above our fucking head doing it. And no one's the wiser. But I've been reminded of something. I have this pendant here. It's the letter, I guess, G, Gort. And it's on an ivy branch. And the ivy is not a tree, though it wraps itself around trees. And it's known to be very dangerous because it can kill its source, because it's so seeking, it's always trying to grow to different directions. But it can connect to many different things. And in connecting to all these multitude of things, these trees, branches, and all that, it can spread itself. It doesn't hold itself to one ideal, I guess you could say. Or like, I just grow from this ground straight to the air, like a tree would. He just moves around, man. And in some spiritual way, it's connected to like the idea that you're seeking and you're growing. But there's a warning to the ivy, and that is, you may lose your foundation. I connect that with my other pendant that has meaning to me, and that's the spiral. A spiral has a lot of different significance in many different religions, but as I understand it, to me, it's ascension. Kind of how I think of it when it works in my world. And they both work in tandem. And I feel like I should come down as the growing ivy, and I need to make sure my foundation is solid. The foundation of myself is solid. And so in doing that, I need not lose who I am. Because I think this is who I am as a person. Where I keep going and going and going and going and realize I don't even know who the fuck I am. Because I've gone so far. I don't know who I am. I've traveled too far away. I've heard too many things. What do I believe? And that's the warning this has, and so I need to come down. So I sought it for so long, and I've realized everything I want to know about my ancestors is incredibly difficult to find. Before Christianity. It's so hard. And I just get so upset by that. So fucking upset. I'm just trying to figure out how I can find that foundation that I feel closest with my ancestors. It's greater than being Irish or being Welsh. It's something deeper. It's like that Proto-Indo-European stuff. I want to know them. That's where I came from, and that's where I'm going to go. But I gotta know just who I am. And the only way I can do that is to trust myself and trust the search. And if I'm met with things that are confusing to me, like my views on religion, I have to trust my feelings. They're not just happening. They're telling me something. Something's calling out to me. And I have to listen.